Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, January 11th. I am Khalil Kato with the details. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment is advising the public to take all the necessary precautionary measures to protect themselves from infectious diseases such as COVID-19, dengue fever, leptospirosis, and influenza viruses, including influenza A, H1N1, or swine flu, which are said to be on the increase in the country. A news release issued earlier today by the ministry says during the period December 25, 2023 to January 6, 2024, there was a notable increase in the influenza A H1N1 or swine flu cases in SVG, with 32 laboratory confirmed cases. It was also noted that as of January 6, 2024, there was a total of 9,804 confirmed cases of SARS-CoV-2 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since the outbreak in 2021, of which 243 cases were confirmed in 2023, with 2 so far recorded in 2024. Influenza and COVID-19 are highly contagious viral infections of the respiratory tract that can cause severe illness with life-threatening complications affecting people of all ages and can spread when an infected person coughs or sneezes. Some symptoms are high fever of 38 degrees Celsius or more, dry cough, sore throat, body aches and fatigue. Other symptoms include aches behind the eyes, chills, loss of appetite, vomiting, and diarrhea. According to the Ministry of Health, in 2023, SVG recorded 17 cases of dengue fever and 20 cases of leptospirosis. However, these vector-borne diseases did not exceed the normal levels and did not constitute an outbreak. Dengue fever is a mosquito-borne viral illness that is caused by the bite of an infected mosquito. Persons are encouraged to seek early care from their healthcare providers if they are experiencing fever accompanied with nausea, vomiting, rash, or aches and pains, typically behind the eyes, muscle, joint, or bone pain. Leptospirosis is a bacterial disease spread through contaminated fluids from rodents such as rats and mongooses and affects humans and animals. Symptoms associated with leptospirosis include high fever, headache, chills, muscle aches, vomiting, jaundice, a yellowing of the skin and eyes, red eyes, abdominal pain, diarrhea, and rash. Some infected persons, however, may have no symptoms at all. The Ministry of Health is advising anyone experiencing any of these signs and symptoms to seek medical attention from your district healthcare team or their private healthcare provider. You are also asked to note that testing for influenza, COVID-19, dengue, and leptospirosis are available island-wide. The ministry says strong adherence to and compliance with the treatment protocols and any other precautionary measures are advised at this time, noting that it will continue to monitor the situation closely and continue to update the public accordingly. As part of the reform of the National Insurance Services, the NIS, to make it more financially sustainable and to secure workers' social security, government is looking to introduce an unemployment insurance next year. This was noted in Parliament on Wednesday by Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez during his wrap-up of the 2024 budget debate. Noting that the idea is a good one, which they will support, Opposition Leader Dr. Godwin Friday asked the Finance Minister to explain how the unemployment insurance will work and how it will apply to persons who are voluntary contributors to the NIS. In his response, Minister Gonzalez said the full details will be provided before the implementation next year. However, it will mimic the package that is available for self-employed persons and will be a carbon copy of what is done in Barbados. Meanwhile, one of the main reform measures in Budget 2024, which seeks to ensure the financial sustainability of the NIS, is an increase of the contribution rate from 10 to 15%, with the extra 5% split evenly between the employer and employee. Minister Gonzalez told Parliament that this measure will work out well for all parties.
Your contribution from your paycheck will go up by 2.5%, and the employer's contribution will go up by 2.5%. And that will happen over the course of multiple years. It's not that we're raising it today for tomorrow. It's going to go up 2%, which means that it will go up by 1% from your salary. Then the next year it will go up by 1% again. And then the next year it will go up by 1% until we reach 2027 and you're at a 15% contribution. So it is gradual for the worker and it is gradual for the employer. And remember, during that same period of time, if you're a civil servant, your salary is also being increased. And your taxes are also being reduced. So these things are not the government reaching into your pocket and taking extra money out. Because between the tax cuts, the changes in your, because we reduced taxes just last year, you know. Between the tax cuts, the lifting of the standard deduction threshold, and the salary increases, what you will be putting into your NIS is far less than what you have been making from these recent cuts and adjustments to your salary. And that is how a people-centered government functions.
Noting that they understand fundamentally that the NIS is not something to play games with, the finance minister further told Parliament that they do not use the NIS as a political football.
The former leader of the opposition, the Honourable Arnim Eustace, was also very, very strong on this point. Whenever the NIS came up, he said, look, move this from politics. This is a serious matter that we have to talk about its sustainability and its viability and its efficiency. The Honourable Member for Central Kingston, in his presentation on the estimates, was very clear that he believes, as we do, that the NIS is a well-run and well-managed organization. It was very clear on that. I know that there's disagreement on the opposition on that point. I saw on the front page of the newspaper from a couple months ago, leader of the opposition says NIS is run like a hermit kingdom. Now, that's not how you go forward in a serious and mature conversation about the national insurance services. There's some things that mature leadership, regardless of their politics, must approach in a mature and a serious manner. This government is in office for at least 2 more years. So there is the proposition from the opposition that we wait 2 years before we see if we are re-elected to reform the NIS. We don't have time for that. This is a serious conversation that's taking place here about NIS reform. And I beseech the leader of the opposition and all members of his team to get on board with this NIS reform. They know in their heart of hearts that it has to be done, that it is rational, that it is reasonable, and that it is in the benefit of the people of St. Vincent.
And that is what we have always said, and that is what we would always say. We have always said that, so don't try to misrepresent.
Reiterating that without reform by 2035, the NIS would not be in a position to pay benefits the way it is paying now, Minister Gonzalez urged everyone to get on board with the reform measures outlined in Budget 2024.
They would have to come to the government to say, well, we don't have enough money to pay benefits. So could you get the money from somewhere else to pay the benefits? That would happen in 2035 if we do absolutely nothing. But by making these incremental adjustments to the contribution rate, to discouraging people from taking early retirement, from encouraging people, more self-employed people, to get into the NIS, we are going to push that date back from 2035 all the way to 2060. So these reforms, modest as they are going to add decades to the life and the health and the sustainability of the national insurance services. And that's what responsible government is about.
Absolutely.
You make decisions and you take decisions not just for today, but for the future and for future generations. And that is what the reforms to the National Insurance Service are about ensuring that the most valuable investment that the workers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have is to put their money in the NIS and get it back when they retire. That's the most valuable investment. And we're making sure that that investment remains strong and healthy and viable and sustainable for decades into the future.
On the NIS and the reforms to be implemented, the leader of the opposition said the government took too long to bring the reforms, which made the matter worse.
The government, in fact, put politics ahead of the interests of NIS pensioners and have failed to take timely and prudent measures to fix the problem. And Madam Speaker, the crisis at the NIS it jeopardizes pensions for so many people. Most of them, 85% of them, don't have any other source of income. That has implications for the wider economy, because those persons were persons who were employed before. We know there's 21% of the people are unemployed. And now in their retirement, that money comes to keep spending in the economy going. If the NIS fails, that fails. The economy is in serious jeopardy. The government put politics ahead, however, of the reforms and the delayed. This has serious financial and economic implications, as I outlined. What this all means, and we all agree in this Honorable House, is that we cannot do without the NIS. It must survive and it must be made healthy again. Till God comes to his earth, we must have the NIS. But how did the NIS get to this crisis point? The government must take responsibility for it, because I said they failed to act. In the 2020 manifesto, Madam Speaker, they said to voters then that what was upcoming, the 11th actuarial review, was being prepared at the time, and that it would result in improved pensions and other benefits, when they knew damn well that it was not going to happen, because they had the 10th actuarial review, which said similarly to what was in the 11th, that you have to make the reforms now and that it may affect benefits and contributions.
The opposition leader said the lack of transparency also led to the NIS's present predicament.
So, Madam Speaker, all of this happened in virtual darkness because the NIS reports, they were not made public. Imagine that. The law says that those reports have to come to Parliament, and we had to be surreptitiously trying to find out how you can get a report from somebody. Policy holders can't go and have a look at the report of the actuaries. So the actuaries finally said, no, you got to put this thing up on your website. Let people see it. Let some light in. Let people be able to hold you accountable, because when we put it, I don't want to be blamed essentially for not doing the work, because I'm the actuary. I say these are the things that have to be done. If you don't do them, I want people to know that I tell you should do them. To put the thing up on the website. And for a long time, they didn't do it. I mean, that's transparency. What is there to hide? Transparency is it's a wonderful thing in our speak, and accountability, because it makes for better governance. It may be easier if you could do things in darkness, by yourself, without restraint. But when you're wrong, you become catastrophically wrong. And other people pay the consequence. It's better to have all of us looking at it and saying this is what needs to be done. And if you don't do it, to have the people raising a noise and they say, get it done. So the minister outlined a number of the proposals that were set out and that he accepted from the actuaries. But there were some other things, Madam Speaker, that he did not mention, and he should mention, about the way in which the government has dealt with the NIS in the past and the way they should do it going forward.
Noting that the NIS has made payments to students and non-contributable payments to deserving persons, the opposition leader pointed out that when he asked in Parliament during the last sitting in December, he was told that the NIS has paid out 144 million EC dollars in non-contributory pensions over the years. On the $500 payout to students who passed CXC, Dr. Friday said while it is a worthwhile program as it encourages students to do their best, over the life of the program it has cost the NIS $14 million, and the government ought to source the funding elsewhere to continue the program given the financial situation of the NIS.
Students don't know where it's coming from, but the government taking the credit because they're saying, here we're giving you $500, but it's the NIS, it's the pensioners, the parents and grandparents of those students who are paying for their $500. And at the same time, it's undermining the integrity of the system. So the government has to give a commitment that in continuing the program, that they will source the funding elsewhere. Not only that, they took $14 million, Madam Speaker. The NIS quite clearly needs an injection of capital. You can't just get it from pensioners, taking more money out of them and then telling them that maybe they're not cutting the benefits now or they're not raising the pensionable age now, but who knows. That $14 million should be put back in the NIS as a contribution from government. It should be treated as a loan. so that there is a capital injection to keep the NIS healthy. The money now to fund the program for the students must be found. Maybe, you know, the Prime Minister can cut back on some of his foreign travel and put some money into the fund to pay the students and some of the other ministers. That would help. But in any event, it should not be going forward taken from the NIS funds. Those funds should be found elsewhere.
The opposition leader also called on the government to pay the NIS immediately all of the money it owes from deductions from salaries. He says the government should be the flag bearer of a good example of an employer and its relationship with the NIS. And over $27 million has been allocated in budget 2024 for agriculture. Making his contribution to the budget debate, Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar said it will be the most money to be spent on agriculture and farmers in 1 year.
And the project already started, 2023. The poultry farmers are getting their day-old chicks. There will be greenhouses which will be built. Persons will be receiving sheep and goats and cattle provided. The fishermen, they usually say from time to time that their fortunes have changed for the better since you have the fish aggregating devices. Well, you're going to have more of those. Fertilizer will be distributed to the farmers and hand tools. So instead of using the traditional hoe and the fork, you can get something that is motor operated. And safety gears also will be distributed to our fishers. As I noted, it will be the most money ever spent in 1 year to provide grants to the farmers and to the fishers.
Minister Caesar noted that this year the ministry will also launch 9 value chains, including livestock, spice, plantain, vegetables, and English potatoes.
This year, we are going to build out value chains in livestock because there's a significant demand for livestock locally and also in the region. Persons are calling St. Vincent and the Grenadines for livestock. And I want to commend the Cattle Farmers Association, formed and is doing excellent work in response, not like what the opposition is saying. Well, there is a huge demand for cattle to be exported, just don't sell. That's the view of the opposition. On radio and TV, there is a demand, close it down. This government, with vision and foresight, we are going to ensure that through artificial insemination and through the monies that we're receiving this year from the World Bank, that we will be able to increase production and productivity, not only to ensure local food security, but that we will be able to export.
Minister Caesar says they are also working on the construction of a modern starch factory in Orange Hill.
We will be constructing a modern starch factory in Orange Hill, and this is exciting. The Arud factory was destroyed when we had the eruptions of La Soufrière. But importantly, in the way forward, we are not going to only focus on the production of one starch, because we produce cassava and we can do the flour from cassava. We produce dasheen and we can do the flour from the dasheen. The same thing with the bananas and the plantains. And we are going to have several different lines in that starch factory so that we can diversify the production. And we will continue to provide the income support to the farmers. And there is an expert who will be in the country before the end of this month who will be providing technical advice.
Giving full support to Budget 2024, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works and Physical Planning Montgomery Daniel said there are anxious and frightening moments worldwide which could change the budget in the twinkling of an eye, noting that the world economy is being challenged by many troubling situations such as wars.
There are anxious moments all across the world, and whatever that can be triggered from a number of these anxious moments can change the result of this budget. Madam Speaker, as I speak to you, the war in Ukraine and Russia, it is troubling. There's a war in Israel, in the Gaza Strip, which has now dragged in Iran, another troubling point for us. There is a threat of attack on Taiwan from China. And quite lately, we would have seen King Kim Jong-un flexing his muscles in preparing for war. These are troubling moments. And right here in our own backyard, right on our doorstep, there is Venezuela and Guyana squaring up with military muscle, again, threatening peace within the region. Madam Speaker, the region is right here on our doorstep.
Minister Daniel, however, noted that Budget 2024 has positive and practical measures which will improve the growth of SVG's economy.
What is encouraging to me is that I've seen the Ministry of Finance manage the economy superbly during these difficult times to ensure that the economy of St. Vincent today can realize positive growth. A budget presentation by the Minister of Finance. And as I was able to scan through it between last night and this morning, and I would have seen where the assumptions predicated on the budget hindered on a couple of things. One, there will be increase in economic growth up to approximately 6% for this year, 2024. There will be the continued boom in construction. We are seeing more hotels developing. We see the development of the new port. We realize that there will be more international flights here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we also realize that there will be improvements within the agriculture sector. Madam Speaker, these are positive and practical measures to which the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is being hinged and can certainly improve the economy.
And Opposition Senator Chevron John said an ATM machine needs to be placed in one of the communities north of the Rabaca Dry River to address problems that persons on public assistance may face while using the modernized method of collecting payments. In making her contribution to the 2024 budget debate, John explained how challenging it would be for persons in Fancy and surrounding communities to go to Georgetown or Kingstown to collect their payments through the new system.
Put yourself in the position of a pensioner from Fancy who has to travel to Georgetown to collect $275 or $280. You have to pay a pensioner, Madam Speaker, so we realize that that person is not working. So that person depends on that money. They have to now pay probably somebody to collect their money, or they have to pay approximately $15 out of that money to get their money from the bank in Georgetown. Lunch, they will not get a transport to go back, so they have to wait, the time spent, the mental stress on that pensioner, Madam Speaker. I am hoping that the government is taking into consideration those challenges that persons will face, especially those persons over the river. And I am hoping that they consider putting an ATM machine somewhere above the river to assist these pensioners in cutting down on the cost of getting whatever belongs to them.
In December last year, the Ministry of National Mobilization and Social Development partnered with the Bank of SVG to distribute ATM cards to beneficiaries of the Public Assistance Program as part of the transition from cash to card implementation strategy. Senator John also called for mental health in SVG to be taken more seriously. The opposition senator is hoping that things will be put in place to address mental health issues at the new hospital to be constructed.
Madam Speaker, we have a mental health center, but we have persons with varying mental health issues. They go to one center and is being dealt with the same way. Madam Speaker, that cannot work in our society. We cannot write off someone with mental health. We can't. And I do hope that with the building of the new acute medical complex, that this issue of mental health is taken into consideration and there are allocations for it in that center. Madam Speaker, we know that we don't have a psychiatrist, and that is why there is a backup in the court system. Madam Speaker, farmers are scared of mental health people going into their lands. Madam Speaker, even in the home, persons are scared of who they have there with mental health issues. So, Madam Speaker, it is something that we need to take into consideration and not take it as a laughing issue, because mental health is no laughing issue.
Occasional scattered light to moderate showers are forecast across SVG into the weekend as a shear line dominates the weather pattern across the islands. In its 72-hour forecast, the SVG Meteorological Services says model guidance is indicating 1 inch of accumulated rainfall by Saturday night. Sunday should be mostly fair. The Met Services says winds will blow generally from the east-northeast between 20 and 35 kilometers per hour, allowing for breezy conditions. Seas are forecast to be moderate in open waters, with swells ranging from 1.2 to 1.5 meters on the western coasts and 2 to 2.5 meters on the eastern coasts. Small craft operators and sea bathers are asked to continue to exercise caution for above normal sea swells. No significant haze intrusion is forecast. Advertisements on social media, in newspaper, and elsewhere for positions that require little to no experience with high payments is just a way of enticing persons to apply. However, it also sends up a red flag for human trafficking. This is according to Corporal of Police attached to the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, Garrett Dopwell, who on WeFM's Cop Chat program today said human trafficking is a crime that does not discriminate against anyone. Dopwell was speaking on safeguarding our children against illegal drugs, sexual abuse, and human trafficking.
So you might have persons applying for a position of a bartender at an establishment. But when you get to that establishment, rather than serving drinks, you're given a two-piece lingerie set, beaten until that you have to dance. You have to perform sexual acts. Other recruitment methods are loving boyfriend, loving girlfriend, where persons would seek to get into a relationship with you with the means of getting you comfortable. So basically they shower you a gift, they treat you like a king, they treat you like a queen, they make you feel comfortable. And then when you feel comfortable now, that's when they start to exploit you. They might say, oh, I need you to do something for me. And then you feel obligated in doing that. Also, friends, I would always say not everybody out there is a friend. Sometimes persons would just want to be a friend because they have an alternative motive behind it. You might have persons pretending to be your friends, taking you to clubs, taking you to various places on trips with the intention of selling you, forcing you into a position of forced labor, forcing you into a position of sexual exploitation.
On the issue of safeguarding children against illegal drugs, Sergeant Iraqi Huggins identified 2 types of illegal drugs that are rampant in the society, namely cannabis and crack cocaine. Sergeant Huggins said a recent trend that they are seeking to crack down on is the importation of cannabis edibles, which are being sold to students.
We have seen it from the creepy, we have seen it from Venezuela, Colombia, and seen drugs, cannabis imported from Canada also.
Okay.
So we have been calling to schools concerning these cannabis edibles. They are sold on the internet. WhatsApp, IG more preferably. They are advertised and the students make the order and they are delivered covertly. So cannabis edibles, the effects last much longer when you eat it, and just like cannabis and cocaine, it gives you euphoria, make you high, make you addictive, make you hallucinate, seeing, as we say in local terms, seeing little man. There's also another way that they mix cannabis and cocaine, and you call it Zuki.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you might have a friend who thinks smoking is cool, and you might be doing well in school. And this friend might jealous you, and all you smoking with together, they get some crack cocaine, and they lace the marijuana with it, and you smoke it, and it'll send you stone mad. So I'm saying all of this to our youth today, that be very vigilant, start school strong, stay strong, and finish strong.
Police constable attached to the Sexual Offences Unit, Clisina Butler, advised students to be careful with their peers and what they eat or drink, as some individuals can drug or worse, sexually assault them.
Neighbors have to look out, parents have to look out, teachers have to look out, students have to look out for students as well, because when you start looking out for each other, it brings up bond, it protects the youths of our society. Every person who would have been sexually assaulted would be traumatized in one way or the other.
Another thing, just to feel cool, you want to be the cool guy or the cool girl in school, and you start using drugs. You want to feel different, you want to high, start using drugs. Social media, even family members, because you might see your uncle smoking and you might think it's cool because he's doing it, and you start doing it. Experimentation, you just want to take some, let me try this to see how it works. And that one pull or one sniff might be the end for you. And self-medication also, you might hear people telling you, okay, then you use it for asthma, but you might not know how to use it, or what you might overdose. So these are things that we would like our students to take heed of.
As part of their sensitization program, Constable Butler said to start off the new year, the Sexual Offences Unit will be hosting a march and rally on February 26th in Georgetown. Meanwhile, in its quest to further improve its relationship with the members of the public and create safer communities, the police force will embark on a series of activities across St. Vincent and the Grenadines to bolster its community policing strategy, as outlined in the organization's 2024 calendar of activities. To this end, the RSVG Police Force is inviting members of the communities of Pembroke, Bookament, Layou, and surrounding villages to a town hall meeting in Layou on Thursday, the 18th of January, at the Layou Government School, commencing at 6:30 p.m. A news release from the police says members of the police hierarchy and leaders of the community will be in attendance. The police say several issues will be discussed at the meeting, including, but not limited to, a report from the divisional commander about policing, crime and citizen safety in the community, ways in which the police and community can work more efficaciously to combat crime and improve community relations, the gun amnesty, and the way forward. At the meeting, residents will also be allowed to air their views and opinions on the crime situation in the community, ask questions, and offer suggestions or solutions on how to deal with the situation.